Welcome back to the Proximity is Power podcast. This is episode 8, believe it or not. And today,
Didn't mess that one up.
I didn't mess that one up. But this is episode 8 with my good friend Connor Rockwood. He's a freaking baller. Connor Rockwood is a huge real estate investor. He's got, I want to say $16 million worth. Is that right?
That's right. You're on, dude. You know your stuff already.
Dude, it's impressive. $16 million portfolio. And he's been investing since, what year did you start investing?
2014 was my first deal. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So almost 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
That's crazy. You got in a good time.
I did. Got lucky, right? Everyone got lucky.
Well, sweet, Connor. I look up to you in a lot of ways. Like, you've taught me a lot about like how you do your real estate thing. And I think a lot of people could get a ton of value from, hearing from you, your story and how you got into it all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's gonna be fun. Well, just opening up, Connor, where are you from? Where did you grow up? How'd you grow up? Yeah. Tell us about that.
So I grew up in Draper, Sandy, right on the border, not the rich side, the poor side.
Okay.
I lived my whole life in the same house. Parents working basic jobs like a nurse and Home Depot, like very basic, hardworking people, good people, good parents, nothing to complain about. My childhood had everything I needed, but just constant fighting over money.
Yeah.
And so like divorce talks, things like that constantly. And so I was like,
over money mostly.
Yeah. Always money.
Okay.
And it was like, we never have enough.
Yeah.
Never, we're always making ends meet. Like, so I just wasn't down for that lifestyle. And that's kind of how this mindset started, where I just wasn't going to be okay with the status quo, like always going to overachieve. My mom was a perfectionist, so I ended up being a perfectionist. So like growing up, I grew up in the church. I had a saving mentality initially. Like I always just was a saver, always like a budgeter, always trying to like get the most out of a little. And so that's kind of how my mentality was growing through.
Did you play sports in Little League, high school?
Yeah. Football, baseball, basketball, anything I could put my hands on. Very active, tried to be the best in everything I did. Very competitive type kid, just very disciplined. I remember 10 years old, like losing 20 pounds to make X weight, which means like you can play any position. Right. I just wasn't going to play an X-Men position, which is offensive line, defensive line.
You get a huge X on your helmet.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I refuse.
That's hilarious. So you were 20 pounds above the limit and you had what'd you do? How'd you lose 20 pounds?
My mom told me I could lose that weight over that period of time. I think I had like 3 or 4 months to lose it. Okay. And they're like, if you don't eat after 5 every day and cut out sugar.
Wow.
And I was like, down. And I committed to it that day. She told me that. I was like, I'm not eating after 5. And that was just the self-affirmations that I gave myself from that period. My mom saying, you can do this. You're super disciplined. You're doing awesome. Like that reinforcement. So like I learned that from my mom and she has like crazy depression, but somehow she gave that to me, the positive.
That's awesome.
So
you lost 20 pounds.
Lost 20 pounds.
What position do you play?
I played linebacker, running back, quarterback. I played all sorts of stuff.
All the fun ones.
Yeah, all the fun ones. All the ones that people like to play. So
heck yeah, that's crazy. So you learned, was that pretty hard for you? Like, were there times that you messed up, like you ate sugar or?
No, I was just that way as a kid. Yeah. Like very disciplined. Like I knew that I would be more tired if I drank soda. So I stopped drinking soda. Just like, the discipline was always there as a kid. And I just constantly was being told that I was so disciplined. And so it made me more excited to be more disciplined.
It became part of your identity.
Exactly.
Heck yeah.
And so that was just my mindset growing up, and those self things I kept telling myself. I gained a lot of confidence from doing what other people told me I was. Yeah. That makes sense. And so anyways, that was pretty much my childhood. Like lots of money issues, lots of not being able to go to certain camps because we didn't have money. Yeah.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you were little, like growing up?
Yeah, I did want to be a professional football player.
Yeah, same.
Really?
Yeah.
So my back,
that's the dream.
My back at 15 broke. I had a disease in my spine that is smaller than how big I am.
Oh, really?
So kind of weird. I shouldn't have played football after that, but I did anyway. I played baseball still.
How'd you break your back?
Football and baseball.
Wow.
Yeah. So like just the torque of throwing a ball. like messed up my back.
Dang.
So like that pushing through the break of my back and being like, hey, I'm just going to figure this out and keep playing. Doctor said I couldn't play. Like, nope, I'm going to go ahead and play.
Yeah.
And I played all the way through high school and then went on my mission and just decided.
Where'd you go?
I went to Barcelona, Spain. So it was really cool. Yeah. Got lucky with the mission.
That's right. Because me and Connor actually, funny story, we met on a Provo airport flight to, I think, California.
That was true. Yeah, San Diego.
And we kind of connected because my wife served in Barcelona too.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's funny.
We talked at the airport, and I think you were wearing something like
Abdiv.
Yeah, and I was like,
summer sales gear.
I remember that.
That's crazy. Or you had an Alder. I think you had an Alder backpack, and I was like,
oh yeah, you're like, you worked for Alder.
My brother used to work there. That's cool though. So you served a mission in Barcelona. What did you learn on the mission, or how was the mission for you?
Number one was the discipline again.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of my life has just been, the good things have all come from being extremely disciplined for a long period of time.
Yeah. Consistent
discipline. And so my whole mission was like structured. The life was structured. As people know, it's like your same morning routine every day.
Yeah.
Same daily, everything's the exact same every day. Even though you hate doing it, you're like, I got to do it every day. The study, the Spanish language, everything you had to do.
Yeah.
And so that aspect of my life was perfected. Like, and I found identity in that because I was like, this is how I like to live my life. I like to do things in order and doing things over and over again to perfection. It helped me learn my work ethic fully. I was already a hard worker, but I also knew that you have to do things that you don't want to do, which I'm introverted by nature, and a lot of people couldn't tell that, but like I learned that in my mission that I needed to learn my extrovert side and I needed to like come out of my shell.
So were you pretty quiet in high school?
Yeah, I was like more to myself. People said I had like a resting bitch face, like if I can say that word.
Yeah.
But like I definitely like came off as kind of like, oh, he thinks he's cooler than people. Never was that way, but I just came off.
Introvert. Okay.
Yeah, I just like was very like talked to my buddies, and that was pretty much it. Like kind of drained me by hanging out with people a lot of the time. So
interesting. So then on your mission, you kind of forced out of your comfort zone in that area and
had to talk to people in Spanish. Like you have to learn the language. Like, so yeah, I learned that.
And I've heard that mission's a little tough. Is that true?
Dude,
people are pretty standoffish.
Especially in Spain. Yeah. Like the most atheist. You would think it's Catholic. No, like they hate the Catholic Church. They hate religion.
Really?
Like, they believe in their own God, which is Lionel Messi, like their soccer player. You say you believe in God, they're like, yeah, Messi. I'm like, oh, hear that to every person. You're like, it gets old.
So soccer is huge, of course. There,
definitely.
So okay, so did you graduate high school and immediately did you go on a mission then?
It was about 6 months later. I want to say maybe a little later.
And then you get back, and what are you thinking?
I'm a progressive person, so I'm like, hey, what's next? I had school planned out. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna graduate my finance degree. I'm gonna make a ton of money in sales, and while I'm finishing my degree, I'll get into investing. That was like my idea.
Okay.
I always had an idea of investments because I knew that like you can't make money just by saving. Like you have to put it into something.
Yeah.
Vehicles, and I'm lazy, so I was like, if I can put it into something that works for me, I can be lazy and still make money while I'm not working. So it's like. So I always tried to minimize the amount of work and maximize the gain.
Totally.
So I was like, hey, sales, my brother told me about sales, working for summer sales companies.
Was that right out of after your mission?
Right when I got home.
Okay.
So my brother had been doing it for years with like First Line Security and some other companies. And I made the decision to go out and sell, even though I didn't like sales, but I was like really good at it naturally. So I was like, I'll do it. I made really good money and just put that all into real estate. That was kind of I was literally going to save every dime, put it back into real estate.
So smart. Wait, where'd you sell that first summer?
Alder.
Where in the country?
Oh, Houston.
Heck yeah. How was that? Like your first couple weeks on the doors?
So I did my first blitz in Palmdale, California, and where you just go out for the week, and I sold 6, which was pretty good for a first week selling really security. So, I liked the competitive stuff. I didn't like the job per se, but I was like, you know what? Like I've done hard things. I can do the exact same thing I did in my mission in this job, and it will produce X
money to go dump into real estate.
Exactly. So I don't have to do this anymore. Because I was like, that was like my main thing. I'm like, if I just invest all of it and save all of my money, I don't have to knock as long.
Dude, that's so funny because that was exactly my mindset
Really?
too. It's like there's only two ways to make money. You bust your ass or your money makes money. And your money making money is way more fun. But same thing, I'm like, I don't want to spend any of my earned income. Like I want to invest all of that so I'm not spending principal.
It's just coming back to you the second you spend it. That's
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, anyway, that's cool that you were really aggressive with that and you kind of understood like time value of money that early on, right?
Because the first property you buy, you get hooked. It's like,
so, okay, wait. So you get back from that first summer and you're immediately like, okay, I want to find a real estate deal.
yeah. So I knew that I wasn't going to rent. Like I looked at a couple, like I got married very quick. After I got home from that summer, I got married about 2 months later. So it was fast.
Yeah.
I had met her right after my mission. Like connected really quickly, got married, kind of like the typical Mormon stuff.
Yeah.
So I got married. That like set something in my brain where I was like, I need to take care of her, need to take care of my family. I think a lot of people attribute a lot of their success to like pressure.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I need to buy property. I cannot rent. We looked at basement apartments. I actually went and saw a couple and I'm like, I don't rent stuff. Like I own it and that's it.
Yeah.
So I went and bought my first property after my first summer. So believe it or not, I only had like $7,000 in cash. And you can't buy much with $7,000 of cash. Right. And the only reason why I only had $7,000 is because Alder's model that I worked for was a residual model, which you don't make a ton of cash up front.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You just make residual income.
Yeah.
So that mindset was already in my brain of like, hey, I earn money over time.
Yeah.
It's not going to be initial.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, I'm going to put money into this house. FHA loan, $115,000 house, like condo.
Wow.
And it was the cheapest thing I could find.
Yeah. So you could do it with that $7,000.
Exactly. I used all my money.
Yeah.
Every dollar I had went into that deal, about $6,500.
Wow.
Had nothing left. But I was super frugal. So I was like,
I can the boats.
Yeah. Just like I'm going in on this deal. The mortgage isn't crazy. I had a residual check from Alder coming in now.
Yeah.
So I can pay the payment.
Yeah.
And then also I was like, I also am not going to be spending all of my money on this mortgage.
Yeah.
And HOA fees and stuff.
Yeah.
So I actually brought my brother-in-law to live with us and we'll split it.
Yeah.
I'm like 3-bedroom condo, 2 families. I'm like, we'll split this. I'm like, I don't care if I have to sacrifice that to not have to spend more money. Like I'll do that for short term.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
So where was that first deal at?
Eagle Mountain, Utah.
Heck yeah. And it was a condo, 3-bed, 2-bath. Heck yeah. So that was your first deal ever.
Yeah.
Dude,
small one.
Dude, most people though, you know, with 5 to 10, even less money, they're like, well, I don't have enough money to buy a property, and they don't even look into it. But you figured it out. You figured about like FHA, you only have to put 3.5% down, and you just made it happen.
Don't need to make much money to qualify a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. So that was your first deal, and that was back in 2014.
14, yeah.
What kind of sparked your interest into real estate originally?
It was the laziness.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was like
just cash flow, passive income.
Something you don't have to work for again.
Yeah.
That was like the initial attraction.
Cool.
Because I'm like, everything else that you invest in means more time taken away from you. And real estate was like, set it, forget it, very little talk to the tenant, good to go. Like, that's what attracted me.
Heck yeah. So that was after your first summer. And then did you buy another one that first year?
I bought my second one. So I bought that one end of 2014, finished my summer, bought in November of 14. Second one was in 15.
What was your second deal?
It was a townhouse. I just moved into that one, rented out my
other one.
And actually, this is kind of interesting. This is the amount of sacrifice that I'm willing to put up with. Like, I bought that condo in November, lived in it till the summer because I had to go out again.
Right.
So I lived in it 5 or 6 months.
Right.
Hated living in Eagle Mountain. Hated it.
Yeah.
So far away
with
from
your brother-in-law too.
Yeah, that too. Like living with people, but I'm like, dude, I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
I moved out and I had already put a deposit on my next build, which was the townhouse in Vineyard.
Yeah.
And I knew Vineyard was going to blow up. I'm like, this is going to be huge.
You called it.
I bought the very first unit that was available.
Yeah.
I was waiting for them to release, like the property's edge was building out there.
Okay.
So I put a deposit $500, which was so nice. Like $500. I didn't have any money still.
Right.
Right. Cause I just just used all of it on this property.
Right.
Put the $500 down, went out for the summer, made more money, and then bought the property like right when we came back from the summer. It was like probably 4 months, but I moved in with my parents because the build wasn't done in the basement.
Yeah.
I rented out the condo and was like, I'm going to live in my parents' basement for a few months
done. Yeah.
with my wife.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, this sucks. But like,
yeah.
And she hated it. I hated it, but it was worth the growth. I didn't have any money going out of my pocket besides utilities.
Yeah.
I'm like,
wow. So you were very extreme
on
which
everything.
Is good.
That's how I am with everything.
Well, that's the thing. Like if you have to be extreme sometimes to get extreme results, right? And most people aren't willing to do what you did, but like now you have a $60 million portfolio.
Dude, I don't know if it was worth it. No, I'm just kidding. It was probably worth it.
Yeah. I mean, you could have been less extreme at the beginning and still probably made it happen, but that's really cool. So your second deal was a townhome and vineyard. Let's talk about what's been your favorite deal? Because how many doors do you have right now?
Doors 44 now.
44. Freaking awesome. And are all of them in Utah mostly, or are there some out of state?
So I've got mostly Utah because it's like my favorite market. I just know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Like, know the clientele,
You know the
the tenants are great. But I got Hawaii, Florida, Colorado, Texas.
Heck yeah.
Those are where I'm at right now.
Yeah. How come those states versus others?
Colorado was a random deal that popped up that I was like, sounds good. I put very little money into it. Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Florida, I've been doing a lot of deals in Florida and Central Florida for a while. I want one in Miami. I just love Florida.
Yeah.
Like the insurance I don't love, but I like Florida. I think it's going to be a migration state. So that's kind of the main reason why it is a migration state.
Yeah, it is.
So I like that market for that reason. I love the price point. The tenants in most neighborhoods I like.
Yeah.
But there are some issues there compared to Utah.
Right.
So there's negative and positive. Texas, hate the property tax.
Yeah.
But I like not having income tax.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a balance. Like Utah has income tax. So it's like you have negatives everywhere, positives everywhere.
Right.
Those Hawaii I just ran into because I liked Hawaii.
Yeah, you told me about that one.
Yeah, I went out there for a company trip actually, and I loved Kauai. And then my buddy hit me up about a deal out there. And I was like, I'm down. So I jumped on that one. He bought a couple of them. I bought one. And they're right on the beach. I was like, this is cool for long term. Like it'd be cool to have a property out there. I've never really done stuff for myself.
Right.
So
that one was
like more of like a fun one, and it brings in good money. So good cash flow and stuff.
Dude, that's the thing is like everyone says location, and they're not making any more beachfront real estate in the world.
Very true. Very true. No, I fell in love with that one quick. Credit to Kyle Turner on that one. That was a good deal.
That's awesome. So and I have a few properties out of state too, and I like it's kind of same thing as you. When investing out of state, I kind of look for markets that people are moving to, not out of.
Always.
Right? Because if people are
cheap markets that people want to go into.
Right. If more people are moving into this state, then that means probably higher rents, more appreciation, more growth, better like business, economic growth, most likely, right? And so like a lot of people when they're buying out of state, they just look at cash on cash return. And like there's a lot of markets that people are moving out of and the cash on cash return is better, but
how long does it take to find a tenant?
Yeah, exactly.
How bad is your mess up after they move out? Like
these complexes are like 50% occupancy and it's anyway.
Can we talk about something real quick?
Yeah,
dude?
Go for it.
The amount of doors people have.
Yeah.
I hate the word doors.
Yeah.
Can I just say that right now? Like even though like it's awesome that we have door counts and stuff, but I'm like, I do not care about the door count because they could be in Memphis.
Yeah.
And no issues with Memphis, but it's a place where people are leaving.
Yeah.
There's too much crime.
Yeah.
There's nothing growing.
Yeah.
It's like no one is living there. No one wants to be there. Like people that live there don't want to be there.
Right.
So it's like those types of markets, you can go buy 5 million units.
Yeah.
But you're having tons of tenant turnover.
Yeah.
You're having tons of crime.
Yeah.
You're having people like leaving and just not paying rent.
Right.
And you're talking about cash on cash return.
Right.
That's not factored in.
Right.
Or I doubt it is.
Right.
For me, I'm like, I'd much rather own in a great area where it's growing. Like you said, it's a migration state. People are here. The business is growing. Like
Yeah.
the economy is amazing.
So your competitive nature, you're just like, if I see somebody that has 2,000 units
Cool.
and if they're in Memphis, they don't get any.
They get credit. They get credit.
No, I get what you're saying though. But also like somebody with like 2,000 doors or whatever, they could be a 1% owner on
true.
each of those doors.
We all think
like,
that one.
Oh, yeah, you got 2,000 doors. Anyway, but okay. No, I agree. I agree though. I think there's a lot of different types of real estate investing, right? Like lots of different types, lots of different strategies. And
they all work too.
They all work.
Yeah.
Like anything could cash flow, you know, even if you're doing like Section 8, like there's a way to do Section 8, right? Where people
not what I choose to do,
right,
but other
same.
people kill it in that. So it's like
same. It's a lot more like work, I'd say, rather than and it's more of an active investment rather than a passive investment.
yeah,
But
which is why I chose real estate, is to be passive.
right.
So it's like I'd rather go own $1 million fourplex in Utah or $1.1 million fourplex in Utah than own 40 units that are worth $1 million total in Memphis or Ohio or like in certain parts of Ohio. There's some Ohio markets that are good.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't bunch everything together. Certain cities I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'd much rather own in a really good area, less doors, less management.
Yeah.
But worth the same price, and I'm getting the same amount of rent.
Right.
I don't know.
No, makes sense. I guess for a lot of people listening, they might not have or they might not have any real estate investments right now, but maybe they want to get in. What advice would you tell someone that wants to get in real estate? Like what advice would you give them?
Slow and steady wins the race. Like we've learned it since we were kids. You're not going to make it quick.
Yeah.
It's a slow and steady race. It's time.
Yeah.
It's discipline. It's what I grew up being that way. It's like, we know money doesn't come easy. You just have to put it in, keep it running, and watch it work. Like there's a reason why the wealthiest people in the world own real estate.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we don't pay taxes as owners of real estate, because the government funds that. Right. Like they want us to build private communities for people. They want us to provide rentals. Like, right. So everything that you're wanting to do in real estate can happen very quickly if you just buy and stay disciplined. Yeah. Budget. And stay in. Yeah. Stay in, keep buying constantly. It's not just you go buy this magical deal. Right. Because everyone's looking for a magical deal that's going to come up, and then like they'll never pull the trigger until that deal pops up. And it's like, you just missed 10 singles that you could have gotten. You're looking for a home run. Right. Like I just hit singles. I don't hit home runs. And if it comes up to be a home run, I'm like, sweet. Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20, and I hit a home run and I didn't even know it. Right. It's like, but I just focus on, if it's a single now, it might be a home run later, but singles. Yeah. Singles. And a few of them turn into, home runs eventually. Exactly. So your advice is slow and steady wins the race, and don't try to focus on getting the best investment. Like focus on consistent singles. Just win. That's really good. Just make a move. Yeah. I think most people just don't make the move. Yeah, because most people, like the best investment, I've heard this saying, the best investment's your first one, because that's your hardest, most likely. Just freaking do it. Because you don't know what the freak you're doing. Like I remember the first property I ever bought, it was built in 1911, I want to say, like a few blocks south of BYU, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, but you did it. I listened to some Bigger Pockets podcasts, and I didn't know what the freak I was doing, and I think I invested like 90 grand and then 10,000 in fix ups, and I'm like, holy crap! Like I just invested. Did it work out though? Dude, it did. And there you go. It was the best thing every year. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was really scared, dropping off, like wiring the money. I'm like, this is like 90K is a lot. Oh, my money. At your age, you were probably what? Yeah, I was 20? I was like probably 20, 21. That's a ton of money. Yeah, dude. It was that's cool. Yeah. It scared the hell out of me, but it was like the best thing that could have happened. It wasn't like the best investment I've ever done, but it was ish, because it got me going, And like once you buy one, you get hooked, and then you buy another one, and it just becomes like a fun game. Exactly. And it's funny because like you probably had headaches in that first deal. Oh yeah. I look at my first deal, I didn't know how to manage. So I put some tenants in there that shouldn't have been there. Yeah. They actually didn't they put their first month last month and deposit. So I did something smart.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't have very good credit. And so I was like, okay, I covered my risk. I thought.
Yeah.
They ended up just leaving the property, like left it a mess, tons of repairs I had to do.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson, but that deal still worked out really well. Like I almost could have just stopped at that point.
Right.
So like certain things that you did in that deal, like I could have just stopped.
Dude. Yeah. Right? And never touched it again.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, the first property. Okay. So that house I bought, it was a duplex, and the first, I think it was October 1st. I bought it like the end of September, and it's the first. I text both tenants and like after I bought it and said, hey, like Venmo me at this for rent. Mm-hmm. And one side paid me like right away on the first. Am I sick? But then the other side just ghosted me.
No. Your first deal too.
My first deal. Like, gosh. I'm like, crap. Like they ghosted me, and I like tried calling them, texting them.
Did you have to do an eviction?
Dude, I literally drove to the house, right? Knock on the door. There's no car in the driveway. I noticed right away there's junk everywhere in this driveway.
No.
I'm like, what the hell?
$90,000. No, 100 grand.
100 grand. Well, it was 90,000 for the down payment, and this was
100 grand total.
This was the 10 grand that I was about to find out. So I literally knock on the door. I punch in the keypad code, and they had left the property just in shambles.
They left completely.
They left. They were in the middle of a lease, and they had left the prop. It stunk. The electricity been turned off. The fridge had food in it that was rotting.
No, dude.
It was disgusting. And I'm like, what the freak do I do?
Bro, that is like the worst nightmare.
I was but I kind of like, it kind of made me laugh. I'm like, this is hilarious. Of course, this is my first deal.
Yeah.
And dude, basically, we got it cleaned up, painted, paid someone to do all that, and then rip out the flooring, and I re-rented it, and then it started cash flowing like $700,000-800,000 a month.
Yeah.
And like 2 years later, I sold it for way more than I bought it. But that was my, and same thing with you, like the tenants that I put in there, I didn't screen.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what I was thinking.
I didn't do a background credit check, nothing. And they just like came in, and they were like late few times. The church was paying their rent a few times. And
I never all heard those.
I had no idea what I was doing.
But it works out. It's crazy how it always works out. And the value of the property goes up, and you're like not doing a lot for it, but you don't see all the negatives that we had to deal with, even if the timing was good. Right. Like, so
no, that's the thing too, is like I've been investing since I think 2019, and it's been a crazy bull run. And I think a lot of people are scared of real estate because they're like, well, what if the market crashes? What would you say to that?
How many times has it happened in the last century?
The market crashing? Like
the market in real estate?
I don't know, once?
Ever. Like if you count the Great Depression, that was the other time where the housing market actually was like down, right?
Yeah.
So it's like 2 times in a century.
Yeah.
I don't think it will happen in a 20-year span.
Yeah.
I think it could happen, but I don't really care because I pencil the deal now.
Yeah.
If the rents decrease by 15%, I'm still even.
Yeah.
Or like 10%. It's like I'm close to even.
Yeah.
And my other properties that I bought in the past, they're holding these steady, and they're good to go.
See, that's the thing that I kind of, figured out too, is like, who cares if the property goes down in value 20%, whatever, because if you can cover, your mortgage and your expenses through a downturn, then it doesn't matter, because over a 20-30 year period, this property will 5 times the value of what I bought it for, most likely. And
like worst case scenario, those deals that were bought in 2007, like right before the crash, those people are positive now. Right. So it's like way positive.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, for example, my brother bought right before the crash, freaking lost the house, short sold it. Yeah. And I'm like, if you would have just rented that out, just rent it out and get close to even.
Yeah.
Like you would have been fine. And he's like, I didn't know. Like, and I don't think a lot of people knew that they could have done that. And to get through the situation, go move out into your parents' basement, rent this sucker out. Right. Like, and you would have been fine.
Right.
Rent it for a few years, and 10, 15 years later, you're up double.
So it's like, that's the thing. And that's why, like, I think most people with investing lose because they buy high.
They sell low.
And they sell low. and it's like, no, like, I won't do that. I won't I won't do that. But like when crap happens, like you have to have like the discipline
to hold it.
Like you had, and you learned growing up to hold it and just realize like time in the market is better than timing the market. And if you're just buying in consistently, your time in the market's going to really build your wealth. And
exactly. The emotions out of the picture too.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing too.
People are so emotional with investing. They lose money on their Robinhood account. And
they're
like,
sell.
Oh no, I need to sell this. I'm losing 10 grand.
Right.
And they're like, bro, just hold it. And
Yeah.
real estate is a lot easier because it's not at your fingertips.
Right.
I'm not sitting here looking at my Robinhood every day.
There's fees involved to sell it.
Yeah. It's like, it's going to take me a little while to sell this anyway, if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can think it through. Whereas like Robinhood, you're like, click, lost 10 grand, actually lost, realized a $10,000 loss.
Right. When you sold.
Exactly. So unless the company went out of business or something.
Right.
But like, I feel like that is a huge positive. It almost forces discipline in a way, like, which I like about real estate. For young people, especially getting in, I feel like that's what forced a lot of my discipline. The emotions were out of the picture.
Yeah.
So,
which is hard to do when crap happens, you know?
For sure.
But if you're just grounded in your principles, you're playing the long game rather than the short game, right? Then it's going to work out.
You look at like the last 40 years of real estate, it's like the return's consistent.
Yeah.
If you look at all the downturns and all that stuff, the ups and downs, the little corrections here and there, it's like, it's this though.
Yeah.
Like it's straight up.
Yeah.
And so if you're willing to hold it, if you have time on your hands, that's another question.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to start really young so that I had the time on my hands.
Yeah.
The guys that are starting at 40 or 50,
right.
It's like, okay, when do I want to retire? There's all those questions. So if I was in that position, it would maybe change my perspective. But for anyone that's under 30, maybe even like lower than 40, you're good. Just hold it, sit it out.
Yeah.
You got time on your hands. Like, as long as you can make that payment, you're good to go, which is, you should already know how to make the payment. You should learn how to make money before you invest anyway.
Right.
So anyways.
Let's talk on that a little bit. So how come you'd advise people to learn how to make money before they invest?
You need a skill that can cover the downturns like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, you need a skill that will always make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like you should be making six figures.
Yeah. 100%.
Like, there's not one reason why you should not be making six figures. I don't care what job you do, find a freaking way. Like it's not that hard to make that much money. Get skilled at one thing, whether it's sales, whether it's being an accountant, whether it's starting a business, whether it's lawyer, being a nurse, travel nurse. You could do whatever industry you want and you can make six figures.
Yeah.
Travel nurses make six figures.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice to make that six figures.
Totally.
If I want to get into sales, I have to sacrifice to make six figures.
You have to move out for 4 months. Yeah.
There's all sorts of sacrifices, but you can make the six figures.
Yeah.
Learn how to do that, whatever trade it is.
Right.
And you can invest your money because like six figures will cover that risk, I feel like.
Yeah. So go learn a skill set, go earn good money, and then invest the majority of that money. Don't freaking spend it all. And then put that in real estate and your wealth will compound like Warren Buffett says, snowball.
Exactly. We love the snowball effect.
Yeah. Let's talk on this a little bit. What do you believe, you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you believe makes you different?
I am a psychopath with discipline.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's not very many people that can say they're going to do something, do it,
and then
keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Kobe Bryant is a great overall
Mamba
look
mentality,
of that. Like, just like, hey, I do it and I perfect the little things. And that's something I do. I'm not amazing at the creative aspect.
Yeah.
I just look at what someone's already done.
Yeah. Copy it.
Watch their exact process, copy it, become them. And then I start putting my spin on it afterwards.
Love it.
Over and over again until it finally succeeds.
Yeah.
Like sales was that way. Real estate was that way. Being a father is that way. Watching other really good dads do the exact same thing and then perfecting it or trying to perfect it. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, but like there's a reason why he's so damn good.
Yeah.
Like Kobe Bryant is so good.
Right.
And it's like, he just perfect the little teeny things over time, over and over and over again, and sacrifice things to get there. Same with Michael Jordan. Same with all these amazing athletes, investors. Warren Buffett lived very frugally.
Yeah.
and he was determined to keep being that way. And he did it even to this day.
Yeah, to this day.
He still drives a little old Cadillac.
Same house, I want to say. Yeah.
Yep. And was it Kansas or something like that? Like in a little
Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska. That's what it is. Not Kansas. But it's like they all have something in common, and it's discipline over a long period of time. So I feel like that's something that makes me a little different than the average
consistent
Joe.
Discipline. Dude, it's so important, and it's so much easier said than done, you know.
For sure.
What's your main why in life?
My kids, for sure.
Yeah.
I also I'm very competitive with myself.
Yeah.
So I used to be more competitive with others, and then it kind of shifted over time where I'm like, I don't really care what other people are, where they're at. Because if I get ahead of people, then I feel like there's no other reason to push. So it's like, it's a short-term motivator. Yeah. My kids, offering them all the opportunities in the world, being able to have time with my kids, and having that real, genuine, good connection with them forever is a huge reason why I do what I do.
Because that's the thing is like time is not infinite. Time is scarce.
Very small, yeah.
Money is infinite. But if you can make good money from your investing, that buys you back so much time to like be able to go do life on your terms. Like,
and I don't like spending my life working either.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Same.
A lot of people like that. I would say most of the world has this messed up where it's like US especially.
Yeah.
They don't understand that life isn't about making a ton of money and working your whole life.
Right.
It's like, I'm okay with making a ton of money in short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then having it all invested so I don't have to work.
Right.
Because like, I really don't like to work.
Yeah.
I'm the lazy investor that wants to put a bunch of money in something, work for very short amounts of time. That's why our industry is perfect for it.
Right.
And then put it all into something that works for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to manage people. That makes me add more time to like my job.
I get that. Totally. Let's talk about this. What's the best investment you've ever done?
Investment, I would say my biggest and best investment has been the time I put in my kids.
Yeah. Cool.
Besides money. I mean, I would say I don't know many people that coach all their kids' sports that put as much time and energy as I do into my kids.
That's awesome.
And I just feel like that's my legacy. Like I want to put as much time and energy and focus and like, teach them stuff. Like, I just wish that my parents didn't have to work so they could have just taught me, like filled my brain with good stuff.
That's
and like,
really cool.
Whether it's spirituality, whether it's mental, whether it's dealing with something, a friend at school, so that's my number one. I would say financially, my best investment has been this deal in Bear Lake that we're building, doing 250 units up there, which is my most exciting one.
It's huge.
Yeah. It was like a big deal for me, like first GM project. So, that was an exciting one. I think that's going to be our biggest one for sure.
Heck yeah. So Bear Lake, 250 units. How'd that deal come about?
It's funny that your podcast is called Proximity is Power because I met Kyle. He actually came and knocked with me in 2015 in Florida. And he was like my top rookie. He only worked for a year. He's like, I just need some quick cash. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But he comes from a family of a lot of real estate investors. And he knows Jason Harris, which is his brother-in-law. Yeah. So it's like all this proximity of like knowing
Jason
certain
Harris
people.
Is a beast. Yeah.
He's amazing. He owns Harris Investment Group, has done amazing things. Super solid guy. And I met him through Kyle.
Okay.
And we went to lunch and we clicked and we had this project that was in the pipeline and I was in. I'm like, let's do this. I'll start raising capital.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's funny that the name of the podcast is that because every aspect of proximity is power is literally the same thing that's gotten me where I am.
Yeah. Like, even into sales in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. My brother being in sales. It's like, could another sales opportunity have been better? Yeah. Yeah. But like, it got me into the door of something that is outside the box. Like you're working for yourself kind of like, so
that's really cool. Let's go here. How has failure shaped your life? Or what's been one of the biggest failures in your life and how did you overcome that?
I don't think I've really failed at anything I've done.
Let's go.
I refuse to fail.
Yeah.
I really do. I think everything works out.
Yeah.
I think it worked out how I needed to and I needed to learn something from it.
Cool.
And I don't think it's a failure, but like I've had bad investments. If that's a failure, I'd call that a failure maybe.
Yeah.
Where I confided in other people over myself.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest nugget, I would say, is like confide in yourself. Like you can do things that are crazy. You don't need to be like the lazy investor that just puts money with somebody and hopes it works out. It's like, put in your own time and do it yourself. Like if you really want to be good at something, just do it yourself. So like failures, I feel like a lot of people put that word as like a broad aspect, but I feel like I don't believe in failure. I feel like we all learn from things. Like, had a good lesson, had a great lesson here, like in losing 116 grand with someone I invested with. Like,
right.
So I would say that, I would say like my divorce was a huge eye opener, where I learned a ton. Like, the biggest failures have been the biggest successes of like me growing as a person.
Totally.
So,
and it's all mindset too. It's like, because a lot of people could say, woe is me, when they have a failure and then give up, quit, don't try to like really learn anything and really like, but it can be the greatest blessing if you really, ponder it and see how you need to change, what you need to do going forward differently to make sure, XYZ doesn't happen again.
Exactly. That optimist mentality. Like, what could I have done better? Like, even if it wasn't your fault in whatever happened, it's like, what could I have done to either vet the deal out or done better in a marriage or done better as a parent, whatever situation you're running into. It's like, you fixing those things now from that lesson is like the biggest blessing ever. Yeah. Like, I think my divorce, I wouldn't be the man I am now if I didn't go through it. Like, in lots of my life.
Like, what are some of the ways would you say?
My balance has completely shifted.
Yeah.
Like, I was so work oriented, and it had nothing to do with my work that the divorce happened, by the way, like not even a little bit, but I was so focused on work and like building a future that when I went through the divorce, I had my kids a lot of the time, like most of the time. Yeah. And so I'm like, if I have my kids all the time, I've got to like change something. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, work's going to take the back burner. And it's like, that was hard for me, because I was like, I'm very like about building and growing and like wanting to accomplish a lot of things. But I knew that decision right there at 2018, 19 was going to be pivotal, like in how I was going to be a father, how involved I am in their lives. And I don't think I would have made that shift for a very long time if that didn't happen. Yeah. Like, it would have taken me a lot more kick in the nuts to like have that happen. You know what I mean?
To make them more of a priority.
So like, that happening when they were young, I was like, this is a huge blessing, because I don't know if anything else would have ignited that.
And shaped who you are as a father.
That's cool. Balancing life overall. Yeah. Like, I feel like everything's balanced. Like, I have good work. I got good family. Yeah. I got good fun. Yeah. Travel. Yeah. Like, I don't feel negative about when I have to go travel. It's like, or when I want to go travel. Yeah. I'm like, I'm still making money. Yeah. Chill. Like, you don't need to make more. Yeah. We're good. Yeah. Like, go have fun. Yeah. And I never was able to do that for my first couple years of marriage. Like, so
that's cool. What about this? What have you read that everyone should read, or what are your like top 3 favorite books?
They're always the same ones. Yeah, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, Greatest Salesman in the World. Like, they're all the typical old 1900 books, 1800s. Like, they're written better. People were smarter back then. To be honest, I think everything's just stemmed off the same books. Right. So all the new stuff I don't really listen to. I'm more about the old basics, like fundamentals. Richest Man in Babylon. Like, very like, they're just the base structure of the build, and then the other stuff's just fluff. I'm like, just do the base. Zig Ziglar. Yeah. Like
all the OGs.
Yeah. The sales books, if you're getting into sales, Brian Tracy, like the old school, like, this is key. They knew how to communicate. They had great writing. Those are probably my few of my favorites.
I agree. How do you approach your work on days you aren't motivated?
Discipline. Because motivation's short term. Discipline's all that's going to get you through the day and like fight through the hard days. If it's like, for example, in door knocking when it's raining and like no one's wanting to work, you're like,
and it can cancel.
Yeah, I'm just going to have one foot in front of the other. Like, that's something the owner of Alder always says. It's like, I just put one foot in front of the other. I don't worry about the whole day to be done. I worry about the one door I have to hit, or the one patient I have to see, or like whatever your job is. Just discipline. Be like, I just get up and do this. This is who I am. I don't work off motivation. My motivation's very low. So I knew I had to work on something else.
That's like, awesome.
Motivation's so short for me.
Yeah.
So discipline for sure.
That's cool. What advice would you give someone that is about to go out for their first summer if they're listening to this?
Read a lot. That prepped me the most. And then find your mentor that you're going to copy. Like one guy, one pitch, one everything.
Yeah.
Persona.
Yeah.
And that's who you are now until you figure it out.
Right.
Once you figure it out, shift into your personality.
Then you can go look around and get other people's insights.
Insights. Yeah. It's like, stop trying to like, I got to take this from him and this. It's not my personality. I hate hearing that. Just copy them.
Yeah.
If they're really good, there's a reason why.
Right.
So like become an actor.
Yeah.
Follow exactly what they do.
Yeah.
And that's you now. Like I am, for me, it was Dane McCartney, which is one of the best salespeople I've ever met. I copied him word for word. I did the exact same pitch, same tone, same body language.
Yeah.
I was him.
Yeah.
And I sold 200 accounts my first year. It's like, and then I got better. And then I outsold Dane McCartney.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm going to change my pitch a little bit. And I added some more things.
Right.
And it's like,
made it your own.
Yeah. So I would say that's the biggest thing I would do if I was a first year guy.
Really good advice, because I feel like, rookies are just, just try to take some from everything, and then they have all these things that all these people do, and they try to do it all, and then they're just like,
their pitch is all over the place.
It's like, what the freak did you just say, bro? Anyway,
there's no meaning to it. There's too many personalities.
There's too many daily habits that they don't even have time for anything.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. It's like, I got to do this, this, and this before I start the day, or otherwise it's all off.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, just freaking work.
Yeah.
It's like all it is just work.
It's like Alex Hormozy says, the best morning routine you can have is what makes you efficient and like gets you to work fast.
Exactly. I remember that. That was like, I liked that, and that was a big one.
Like, I agree with that. I really think that everyone's like morning routine and what they need to do is like for them, and it changes as someone grows and becomes and like gets more wealthier and stuff. But I just think it's funny that like a lot of people copy morning routines from super successful people. Yeah. And they're just doing all these things
like 50
and
different people.
Not working at all.
It's my favorite concept.
Good. And I've fallen into that trap a little bit like back in the day, but like
when you're younger, you fall into it.
Yeah. Like sure. I was dating my, my wife at the time, and she'd like call me at like 4:00, and she's like, "What have you been up to?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just finishing my morning routine." It's like
it's 4:00. You're like, "Bro, still grinding away at it."
I just have to read 30 more pages of this book, and then I'm done.
Just doing my 4th cold plunge today.
Dude, that's so me. What are some of your favorite habits that you have?
My favorite habits.
Yeah.
I would say when my kids are out of school, work's pretty much off.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one, because I'm like, I used to just work all day.
What does that look like? Do you like put your phone in a different place? Like,
I feel like I have forced habits. Like when they have sports, it's like, how am I supposed to coach if I have my phone?
Yeah.
Like I can't. Like I have to be there.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of forced habits. And my kids are really good about it. They're like, want me to come do stuff because they're used to it. They're like, he's always playing with me. He's always doing stuff with us.
Yeah.
And it's only 2:30
yeah.
when they're out of school. So I don't really have a long work schedule.
Right.
So I have to go nuts during that time and doing more with less.
Yeah.
And I feel like that I learned that from the owner of Alder, actually, is just doing more with less. So that's probably my biggest habit of just being like, hey, like if I have 4 hours of focused energy, I can do a lot more than what I would do in 10 hours of unfocused energy.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just going to do 4 hours and go hard. Like it's a hyper focused mentality during that 4 hours.
That's cool.
That's one of my habits. I would say I'm really good at, like, if I say I'm going to start something at this time, I start it at that time. Like that's probably one of the hardest things for people. They just like the morning routine, as long as that takes, they're just going to do it as long as it takes. Like, no, if I said I was going to be working at this time, I hold myself to it. It's like, it's a discipline thing again. Like everything with success has to do with discipline. I start at this time and I end at this time. So I would say it's consistency is like probably my consistency and discipline's my other same habits, same ones.
No, they're good. They're really really important. What's something that you've done that everyone should go do?
Real estate. Yeah. No, I would say you're talking about financial or
in general or financial.
Travel. I would say traveling and become cultured. I would say a lot of people stick in their bubble, especially in Utah. They don't get out and do things. They don't experience life to its fullest. Like there's lots of different people, different ideas, different cultures that we can all experience. And I think travel is like very important in building who you are.
What are some of your favorite places that you've traveled to that you'd recommend?
My mission in Spain was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just the different cultures, the melting pot of people. I love Florida, Miami, just because there's so many cultures. Really are
so many cultures.
You can like get most countries
Florida,
in one area. Like,
totally.
So I feel like just like those countries are all Dominican Republic. I love, my kids are half Dominican, so I'm like huge into DR. Like, I love Fiji. Like the people there were awesome. I just feel like you learn certain like humility in certain places, and you learn certain cultures in other places. You learn food in different places. It's like, you just tie into your personality. Like I feel like I have a weird Latin part of my life, like that I'm Latin in some aspects.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, I love those people in this way. And it's like, I haven't really gone to Asia very much. So I'm like, I need to like experience that part of me. Cause there's different cultures that are so far off from what we are.
Right.
And you might have a piece that like, you have a weird tie to like Asian culture. And you're like, okay, I'm going to take that too into my life. I don't know. So I like that aspect of travel and just.
And I feel like different cultures are really like have a lot of strengths in other areas that we don't.
Exactly.
You know, or they prioritize other parts of their lives better than we do, you know, as Americans or in Utah.
Dude, look at like Hispanic culture and how they take care of their grandparents.
Oh yeah.
Compared to like
family oriented.
A typical family in Utah. It's like, it's a little different. They go put them in a home.
Totally.
They don't have them live with them. It's like, no, they are their family. Like their cousins are their immediate family.
Right.
Like, whereas my cousins, I'm like, I don't even talk to them. Like, so it's like, you got to incorporate that. Like, I want my family to be connected. So that's like Latin culture. And then you got like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of cool things that you can tie from different cultures.
Totally. I saw my cousins for the first time the other day.
Right. Isn't it weird?
6 years ago. Like
we're just that way, bro. I don't know why it is.
That's interesting. If somebody's listening to this and wanted, like, let's say they're in their teens or late 20s or 30s and want to be in a position like Connor is right now, what advice would you give somebody?
I would start with very small goals and do those really well. Like I'd be like, hey, I'm not very disciplined. If I'm not a very disciplined person, that's the first thing you got to learn. So it's like, if I'm going to say I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, whether it's a really small goal, I'm going to eat every morning an avocado. I don't know what the heck, like whatever you want to do. It's like, I'm going to eat an avocado every day. I'm going to buy a shit ton of avocados and I'm going to eat one every day. Yeah. And I can start doing that. You build confidence from doing something that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
Like I truly believe that 100%. You say you're going to do something and you do it consistently.
Over and over. Yeah.
You build confidence.
You stack it. Yeah.
So I would say if you don't really have that skill, start with that. Then add another one on there. Then add another one on there. Not the morning routine stuff, but like add on some good stuff that you're doing and be like, hey, like I'm going to do this long term.
Yeah,
like,
work out every day.
There you go. Yeah. Working out's a good one. It's like, even if it's like one rep of something, like I did it every day. And then it turns into 5 reps and it turns into a whole 30-minute workout. And then it ends up being an hour workout. Like whatever you like doing, do it more, obviously. But I would say that's the first step to like success, is just saying you're going to do something, do it.
Love it.
And don't do too big. Cause like people are like, I'm going to have a 6-pack. It's like, okay, what percentage of the country has a 6-pack?
Right.
Very little. So it's like, let's start with doing an ab workout every day.
Right.
A very basic one, like 10 sit-ups every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that every day.
Right.
At
for a year,
10 o'clock at night.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to do 10 sit-ups.
Yeah.
Cool.
So gold. What are some of your biggest goals right now? Or what are you trying to accomplish with real estate? Like where do you see yourself 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now?
I've got a pretty nutso.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I want to hear it. Let's see.
I hate saying it, but it also commits me to it. I want to own a football team.
Dude, that's so badass.
I've always wanted to own a football team. That's been my dream since I was a little child. Like I want to play football.
Yeah.
And then I was like, franchise mode on Madden.
Yeah.
Like I would spend hours just on a franchise mode, like me making the team, picking players, and like
so cool.
It just is a dream. And so like real estate was kind of like that vehicle. Sales was the real estate to get into real estate, and then real estate was to get into this. And so private capital is kind of the part I want to get into next. Yeah. Selling that private equity into something big, like owning a football team would be my next.
Wow. Is there a particular team you have your eyes on?
So you can't own the Packers. That's my team. But the Titans would be really cool. I've always been a Tennessee Titans fan. Yeah. But I think the Utah team would be
bring the
freaking unreal.
Dude,
Owning a
I'll
Utah
invest in
team,
that with you. That'd be sick, though.
dude. I talked to Jimmy about it, dude. We gotta
Wow.
I would do anything to start a team here, and you know how many people would be happy. Like,
oh yeah, it'd be huge.
And we're a big sports state, so
dude, you know what's funny is I'd never thought of like sports teams as like a great investment. I thought like people did it for the clout or like just because they like sports. But like I listened to, it's funny you mentioned that because I literally listened to a podcast today with Tony Robbins and Ryan Pineda. It was just recorded recently. Like you should watch it. But he talks about how all these big hedge fund manager billionaires, like why they go invest in sports teams. And even like Patrick Bet-David owns part of the Yankees. Tony Robbins owns part of the Warriors and the Dodgers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. But like the returns in sports teams are ridiculous. Like even Mark Cuban just sold his portion of the Mavs for like, I want to say like $2 or $3 billion when he bought him for like, I want to say 300 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which
oh my
is
gosh,
nutty, dude. It's crazy.
Like that amount of money.
My numbers might be off. Don't harass me in the comments. But dude, it's crazy. So yeah, I'd recommend you watching that. But
I'll have to. No, sports
dude,
stuff?
that would be so sick.
It doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like
it'd be so fun.
It's the same thing as real estate. It's like you do it for fun, and then it's like,
dude, even Ryan Smith, you know, he built Qualtrics here in Provo, went to BYU, and now he owns the Utah Jazz. And like,
what did he sell that for? $3 billion or $4 billion? No, it was like $12 billion.
What did he buy the?
No, no, I'm talking about
Qualtrics.
Qualtrics.
I think
was like
9 to 12 billion. Yeah,
it was crazy
number, but. Yeah. Freaking awesome. We're gonna have to have you back on when you own the sports team. No,
hey, shoot, I would love to. If that's happening, I will just commit to that now.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
It has to,
dude. That'd be freaking so legendary, though. But anyway, dude, I actually had a friend whose dad was the private jet pilot for Arthur Blank, who owns the Atlanta Falcons.
Holy cow!
He also owns Home Depot.
Jeez, dude.
Like that's how he made his money, and then
crazy.
Freaking bought the Atlanta Falcons, and he was the private jet pilot, and
probably learned some stuff there.
He just talked about proximity's power, right?
Jeez, I'll be the pilot or something.
Yeah, no, wouldn't that be a sick job? But he literally would like go fly with this billionaire all around the world, like on the same trips. Everything's paid for. Like I'm like, damn,
that's cool.
That's crazy.
It's way cool. No, it is true. That's the dream, dude. If you could. I mean, is the amount of time that we have on our hands. Like I'm 31. Yeah. Like we have time. Like, and the thing is, like, I looked at the amount of money. I've done the calculations of how much I have to make each year, how many properties I need to add on. It's not crazy. It's just consistency over a lot of years. Yeah. And so like acquiring, like you look at the compounding snowball effect of taking on like another $1 million of real estate every year. Every year, like $1 million of real estate is not a ton after you get a certain amount of snowball going. Right. And it's like you just put on $1 million of real estate every year.
Like you buy $1 million? Yeah.
Just adding another acquisition of another $1 million of real estate, that compound is insane.
Oh, I bet.
Like at age 50, 60 years old, it's like, I don't know, I have to look at the math. I'm pretty sure it was like over $300 million or $400 million based on what I have now.
Yeah. And it just growing at 5% every year. Exactly. Wow. That's crazy. Plus you won't have like mortgages on a lot of the properties too.
In 30 years. Yeah. It's like you own all that now. And now you sell it all.
Right.
And you put it into something.
You go buy the Packers.
You go buy the Packers even though they can't be bought.
Yeah. It's like, why can't the Packers
they're
be bought?
City owned. They're like, really? You can own shares of
that's so cool though.
It's the only one that's not privately owned.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's cool, but it sucks that they're my team.
Dude, I love your vision though. Like, you know exactly what you're here to do. That's awesome. But
and you add in the rent growth, you add in all those things, and like if you were doing the return on equity, like we were talking about, like, there's some crazy things you could do with it. But
wild
to get there quicker.
Just gonna be fun. Utah team would be sick.
That would be sweet. We gotta make it happen. So.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, this has been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Guys, I know everyone here listening on or watching like got a ton of value from Connor Rockwood. Where can guys go follow you?
So Instagram, just do Conrock, CONNROCK. So that's on Instagram, TikTok. I'm not huge on social media, just do Instagram mostly. So
yeah. Hey, go watch his reels. Like he breaks down some deals he buys, and it's really impressive. So go follow him there. And if you did get value today, share it, like it. It really helps out the podcast. helps us bring on high power people that you guys can get proximity from.
That's true.
But yeah, thanks again for watching, and until next time, peace.